Imagine, brothers and sisters, been doing this for 38 weeks, but it's a joy. It's a great joy. And I'm very happy that in those 38 Mondays, I was engaged with the lives of many persons who desired and continues to desire to appreciate and value our faith. The Catholic faith we received nearly 500 years ago. In fact, this year, 2021, we begin the last few months, basically 4 months before the first baptisms that happened in Cebu in April 14, 1521. So, 38 week, and we continue to recognize who this Jesus is as the Apostle of the Father. Let's listen to a gospel passage that would surprise you as well as me.
Since the Passover of the Jews was near, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He found in the temple area those who sold oxen, sheep, and doves, as well as the money changers seated there. He made a whip out of cords and drove them all out of the temple area with the sheep and oxen, and spilled the coins of the money changers, and overturned their tables. And to those who sold doves he said, "Take these out of here, and stop making my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples recalled the words of Scripture, "Zeal for your house will consume me."
So it would surprise you, I hope, to see a Jesus who is angry, even seemingly violent, with a whip in a reaction to a situation he felt was definitely very wrong. Jesus himself never promised that his work for the kingdom of the Father would always be one of gentle presence and kind words. He said that he came to cause division when it came to the fulfillment of the establishment of that kingdom of his Father. A reign among men and women, and therefore division could happen between sons and their father, mother and their daughters, or in-laws. All that. However, it is important to realize, what was he vehement about in the cleansing of the temple area? Especially, which area was he asking people to clear to make his Father's house a house of prayer and not a den of thieves? So definitely, the structure of the temple has to be discussed a bit so that we may appreciate the circumstances of the action of Jesus. As you can see in a mock-up of what is the temple in the time of Jesus, you have the beautiful gate, they say, that faces the east, that makes you enter immediately into the temple precincts. So the walls around the temple are guarded by that main entrance, the beautiful gate. Now, if you move towards the center, you will see that there will be different flanks, left and right, and a middle tranche with buildings on it. It is in that tall building where the Ark of the Covenant is contained. They call it the Holy of Holies, the entrance to the sanctuary with a veil from top to bottom. There is the court of Israel, priests and Levites, court of priests and everybody, court of women, court of lepers, and outside the court of the Gentiles. In the middle of the inner court is the altar of sacrifice. So, what is this Ark of the Covenant? It contained the remnants of the greatest experiences of God's saving action to his people in the time of Moses. What? The almond staff that they call, which is Moses, which Moses used to divide the Red Sea, where people passed through dry ground. Then you see the manna. It's not a loaf of bread. They are small, little emmer, they call it. And finally, the most important are the tablets of stone, 2 tablets, where his instructions for good behavior and correct love for himself and for neighbor were etched. Now, inside this sanctuary, only one single person is allowed once a year, the priest chosen for that year, as it happened to Zechariah, the husband of Elizabeth and the father of John the Baptist. Now, in front of the Holy of Holies, in the middle courtyard, stands the altar where the daily sacrifices of bullocks, rams, sheep, and if you're poor, just turtle doves are offered to priests to make sacrifice for thanksgiving and other petitions of the Jewish faithful. Only priests can occupy this area, whereas at both flanks of the middle courtyard were the courtyard for women and then the courtyard for the Gentiles. This courtyard of the Gentiles, which made possible other visitors who were not circumcised to come to the Temple Mount to make their devout prayers to God of whatever was their belief. It was in this courtyard that was not frequented often by people that the priests allowed vendors to set up the goods for their votive offerings of the Jews, which consisted of the animals meant for the sacrifice or tables of money changers to help those without loose change to offer to the temple treasury box. Remember the poor widow who threw in 2 copper coins? Now, the Jewish authorities have considered in this area meant for other faiths, men of other faiths, to exercise their devotions or just see for themselves the great wonder of the world at that time that Jesus wanted to restore for God's use by the lowly, by what they would call the impure. Why? Because God is a God of all. So zeal for his house consumed me was how the gospel commentator evangelist thought of describing the seemingly violent and angry stance of Jesus. We know he is gentle and humble of heart. There are occasions they continue to exist, but Jesus could not prevent to vent his anger when it comes to giving, expressing the rightful place of God in the society. I'm happy to find persons who are willing to share with us their experiences in this regard as a way to exemplify that the serving of the kingdom might require even drastic action on their part.
Hi, I'm Mitch Bruega from Milan, Italy. I was born in the Philippines and my dad was already working here in Milan since the early 90s. After some years, he decided to bring the rest of the family here. So nung 11 pa lang ako, lumipat na kami dito ng mom ko at ng twin brother ko. I remember as a kid, I was happy about moving here. I was just excited to spend more time together as a family. Kaya lang hindi naging ganun kasi pagkadating namin dito, nag-enroll agad kami sa school and my dad was already working full-time. At nagsimula na rin magtrabaho ng full-time yung mom ko. So after school, kaming dalawa lang ng kapatid ko yung magkasama sa bahay hanggang sa pagdating ng mga magulang namin galing sa trabaho ng gabi. There was a lot of pressure on us because my parents were expecting for us to adjust easily. Pero hindi madali yun kasi the language was different. And kahit gustuhin pa namin na makisabay sa mga kaklase naming mga Italiano, mahirap because the culture is different. Pero I still wanted to make my parents proud and gusto ko ipagmalaki nila ako. So, I made that as my goal. I wanted to belong. Gusto ko makasabay sa kanila. At gusto ko pang malampasan sila para lang maging proud sa akin yung parents ko. Nagsikap talaga ako sa school noon to get the highest grades, to the point that at 17 years old, I had insomnia because I was anxious for the day after, lalo na pag may mga exams. And also, sa trabaho, after I finished school, yun pa rin yung goal ko. Before, I believed that you are what you earn. Kasi 'di ba, when you're introduced to someone, then they ask you, what do you do for a living? And gusto ko sana yung sagot ko doon is, eto yung trabaho ko, maganda yung trabaho ko, ganito kalaki yung sweldo ko. Nakakatawa kasi akala ko noon, when you have a lot, when you earn a lot of money, when you have a lot of people around you, when you have a lot of stuff, when you have a lot of activities, a lot of commitments, akala ko yun yung pupuno sa akin. Instead, yung mga bagay na yun, yung mga taong yun, pinaintindi lang nila sa akin that they will never be enough. Mas pinaintindi nila sa akin na may kulang pa rin. In year 2015, I attended for the first time the Live Beer Conference here in Italy. 29 years old na ako noon and I was reminded of one thing. I was reminded of who I really am. I am a daughter of God. I am amazing just the way I am because I was created by Him in His image and likeness. I felt God's love through the people talking in front of me. Na nabago yung pananaw ko sa buhay. Kung dati yung goal ko is just to be the best in front of the people sa mata ng mundo. Ngayon, yung hangad ko, yung buhay ko, yung ako, ay mag-align sa kung paano ako dinesenyo ng Diyos. At hanggang ngayon, it's still a work in progress kasi hindi madali. I had to give up some of the habits I had. I had to give up some of my friends, commitments, a lot of activities, a lot of stuff. Mahirap kasi sometimes I feel I'm missing out. Kasi alam ko yung mga taong yun, sama-sama sila, nagsasaya sila, katulad ko dati. Ang tanging pinanghahawakan ko lang yung pagmamahal ng Diyos na nararamdaman ko araw-araw na pumupuno sa akin. And I feel that the more I let go, the more I have space for Him, the more I have time for Him, I realize ang dami kong oras at effort na sinayang noon. I wish may nagsabi sa akin noon ng mas maaga. Kaya ngayon, I am a volunteer for the Live Beer movement here in Italy kasi gusto kong paalalahanan yung mga kabataan dito kung sino talaga sila, kung ano talaga yung worth nila, kung gaano sila minamahal ng Diyos.
Hi everyone, my name is Bernadette Ann Cruz, or Bean for short, and I'm a Live Pure missionary from Zurich, Switzerland. And today I get the privilege to talk a little bit more about myself, but more so how amazing God has been working in my life. So allow me to take you back to my younger years, because for most of my life I have been living in complete darkness, because there was one secret that I've not been allowed to talk about. So allow me to evaluate. I am turning 28 this month, actually. So I was born and raised here in Switzerland, and I was blessed because I have everything that I ever needed, everything that I ever wanted. But to that, I also had one job that was to be perfect, because if you live in an environment like this, I was told that in order to matter, you had to achieve great things, look a certain way. And so I tried very hard to be the best in everything that I did, to be the best in everything that I am. But unfortunately, I never quite made it. I've always been almost enough, because there was always room for improvement. And you may think that's a good thing, but in my experience, it wasn't. One goal that I had in my life is to have my parents be proud of me, to have them say that they're proud of me. But I never quite made it. And the secret that I've been trying very hard to keep within myself is when I was young, barely a teenager, I was maybe 11 or 12, my parents decided for me to undergo plastic surgery for the sake of perfection. And at that time, I was a child. I didn't quite understand what was going on, or what was going to happen, but it was important for me to make my parents happy, and so I did. For the sake of perfection, I changed the way I look. And I thought that one change was enough to be beautiful, for the world to like me, but unfortunately, as I grew older, my body started to go naturally, but in all the wrong places. And so what that meant for me is another year, another cut. So you can say for the next decade, I had to go another surgery each year. And because of that, I've become very sheltered over the years. I've lost myself. I didn't know who I was. And to that, I wasn't good at making friends, because I was afraid that they would see right through me. And I was afraid to be judged, to disappoint, especially the people I've loved most, my family. So I just tried to ignore it all and just do my job and portray perfection every time that I could. And it was very suffocating to please the world that is constantly evolving, constantly expecting more of you. And it got to a point where I was so tired of keeping up. I was so tired of trying so hard, because at the end of the day, some expectations were still not met. And I see the disappointment in my parents' eyes, and it hurts. It hurts to be told of not being enough. I cried every night, every day, and I would talk to God, asking Him, is this really all there is to life? Is this living when I'm suffocating? Is this living if I cannot be myself, my true self? I was chained by so much hatred that I grew over the years towards the people who made me do this, my family. I was chained by jealousy towards everyone around me who didn't have to carry this kind of burden, this kind of baggage. And I wasn't free. And the worst part is, I did this for all the wrong reasons. So fast forward to a decade later, I was talking to a friend, I remember, and she asked me one day, Ate, how do you love God? And I wasn't sure how to answer because I was too busy with this notion of perfection. But right there and then I realized that it's time to let go of this. That it's time to respond to His love. Because I don't want to be in darkness anymore. I want to come back to God. I want to find myself again. And when I did, that's when I realized how great our God is, how merciful He is. Because for the longest time that He's been waiting for me to come back to Him, He never hesitated to take me back in. And I felt this embrace that I've longed for so long. For the first time, I was able to breathe again. I was able to be myself again. I was able to accept all the mistakes that I've committed, all of my shortcomings, and all of that I surrendered to Him. And with everything that I have let go of, I finally made room for Him to fill with all the blessings that He has prepared for me. And ever since that moment, life has been amazing. I decided to message my parents who now live in the Philippines. They retired and moved back home. And I told them how sorry I was because we did grow apart. I was sorry for hurting them while I was hurting. And I asked them for forgiveness. And that's when my mom told me, Anak, I'm sorry. I love you. Please love us back. We want you to live. We want all of us to leave our past mistakes behind and just start being a family. Start living. And from that moment on, everything fell into place. I finally seen color in my life, and I finally fell in love with love Himself. I was filled with so much light, so much love, so much that I couldn't contain it. So much that I had to give away. And the fruit of that love was wonderful. My friends that I have made along the way, I've accepted their love as well. Something which I've never been able to do in the past out of fear. And I didn't know it felt this fulfilling to have relationships with people, to love people, and let them love you back. So here I am sharing to you this secret that I've been trying to keep from anyone, including God. Whatever it is that you're holding on to, whatever it is that you're hurting with, I encourage you to give it up to God, to cleanse your temple. Because only if you let go of something that is holding you back from so many great things, you can finally make room for all of these great things to happen in your life. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easier, but it's going to be worth it. God has been amazing, so amazing in my life, and I hope with a little snippet of my story, I can encourage you to give love a chance, to give God a chance, and to cleanse your temple. Again, my name is Bean Cruz. I'm a Live Pure missionary from Switzerland, and by the grace of God, I will live pure. Thank you so much, and may God be praised.